Okay, dear students, once again, very good morning to you all. I hope you are hearing me. I know for a long time we are away from each other, but I know there is a genuine reason we all need to take care of each other, and in fact, we should not hurry up to come back. But I wish that everything settled down and you are here with us so that our interaction becomes more good. So, without wasting any time, let me start off today's talk. My faculty members had spoken to you about this hepatobiliary part. They had discussed. Last was perhaps Valentidium coli by Navina Mahajan. She was supposed to take up the next was Giardia lamblia. She'll take maybe in near future. So don't worry, that part will be covered. Today I am going to talk to you about a very important uh, intestinal parasite which you can sorry, you will be able to understand. I tell you, it is just like you all have the experience of your childhood, and even now when you dig the soil, you find across worms in the soil. What is they are known as earthworms. So the parasite which I am going to talk to you today is very like that, but of course, morphologically, when you go in detail, this parasite is a parasite of human, and it harbors or it is inhabited in the small intestine. Which is the first part of the small intestine? Let me recollect quick. Let me ask you to recollect. After stomach,
Duodenum.
duodenum, and then jejunum. So it is in the basically start. It is lodged in jejunum, and that is. But I will tell you the details where it reaches, how it reaches. There is a extra intestinal cycle, which is the larval form, and so on and so forth. So we'll make it very interesting, and you need to keep a track of what is happening. This not, you will find it fine, good. So see, I have to in between. Attend to your this also, to admit the people there. So the one I am going to talk to you about is Ascaris lumbricoides. Ascaris lumbricoides. It's also known as the common roundworm. Now we will not call anymore the earthworm. Earthworm is in the soil. It doesn't give us any trouble. In fact, it is good. It prepares a very good manure. People do the culture of these to get best manure. And this is of course appearance wise similar, but size and other things are so much different. And it is a parasite of the intestines of the human being. We are going to speak about Ascaris lumbricoides. And to introduce you to this parasite, it is again quite interesting. It is the largest of the nematodes. Mind you, nematodes are roundworms. They are round like, say, this pencil, or for that matter a wire, and they are we have, mind you, largest of the intestinal parasite. Still larger is, anybody, maybe you don't know only because it has not been told to you, is the D. medinensis, Dracunculus medinensis, which is the guinea worm, which has been in fact eradicated from most of the places, but where the step wells are still there. Step wells, people walk into the water and there this parasite is there. It is like a thread, very long. But let's not talk of that. That is a nematode, but that is not the intestinal. This is the intestinal, largest of the intestinal nematode, and it is found in the small intestine. To be precise, the jejunum. It commonly infects the children more because of their unhygienic playing in the soil, which is got contaminated with the feces of the person who is passing these eggs, and even the adults working in field and unhygienic habits. So there are as many as there could be as many as 500 to 5,000 worms in a single host. And believe, and you can understand, they need something to survive, so they are nourishing on the nourishment of the person in which they are there in the intestine. So they rob you of the nutrients and vitamin A. They are notorious for robbing you of the vitamin A, which the deficiency when it occurs gives you night blindness. So that is you need to remember. Pardon me for giving interruption because I have to admit the students joining late. Okay. The common name, as I just said, is the common roundworm. Common roundworm. And the disease, Ascaris is the parasite. Disease is Ascarisis. Entamoeba stoltica is the parasite. Protozoal, of course, is a amoebiasis. Same way it is Ascarisis. And the host is, there are two hosts generally in a parasite. It could be one host and the other one, which we call as definitive host and intermediate. Here, the host is only one, the human being. The cycle completes in the human being only, and there is no intermediate host. Please remember that. And location in the definitive host, which is human being, they are in the small intestine. To be precise, in the duodenum. But the larval form, which is a very essential part of the cycle, is in the lungs, alveoli, and further. So, and the infective state is the fertilized ovum, which gets fertilized, the egg which are fertilized, passed outside in the soil by bad, this thing people, what they were saying, if you're getting in open in the field or contaminating the water supply for various reasons. The pipeline of water and that of sewage are crossing, and there is a leakage from here to the other one. In fact, from the one which is sewage having eggs of all these parasites in the stool, getting into the water pipeline which is going and getting eroded, and that's how we get this thing. The infective stage is the fertilized ovum. It has to be fertilized. If it is not an egg which is not fertilized, there's no problem. I'll just tell you about it. We'll now talk about the characteristic of the parasite, the adult parasite. So let's talk of the females. Like we always say, ladies first, huh? So it is like the females are larger as over the males. Okay, the size is 20 centimeter to 35 centimeter, which is a big size. That is the length, and the you can say the diameter is 4 to 6 millimeter. Okay, color is generally light pink or ivory, you may call it. You'll see it, and you can walk into our lab, and I will show you these parasites. They are kept in the museum, so-called museum of our department. Now, the spicule, the last part, that is supposed to be straight in the female, and papillae are absent. And what they have is the vulvar waist. It is between the anterior 1/3 and middle 1/3, where the vulva of the female is there, and the eggs are passed through that, or for that matter, the sperms of the male find entry. Coming to the geography as to where all they are worldwide, or globally. That even in our Nepal we have got, in our India we have got, and it is generally in the underdeveloped countries because they don't have a good sanitation. Proper disposal of feces is not there, as I just said, in the open soil, then the water getting contaminated. Children playing in the soil with the nails there, with the big nails. I always discourage you not having the long nails. They get embedded when they are passing feces, washing their this anal area, and then when they are having food, it goes in with the food or with the water, and then the eggs which are fertilized, and they develop into adult form. So it is there in many parts of Asia, including our countries, South America and Africa. The so-called developing countries, they are more the victims. Now it occurs during rainy months because that's the time when the water takes this thing, the soil containing, or the feces are being drifted and go and get into the various parts of the soil, contaminate for the vegetables, food, which is then consumed, even the water which we drink. So it is more in the tropical and subtropical countries, and it occurs in US in the rural areas, which are the kind of developing part, where the sanitation is not good. Proper disposal of feces is not there. Proper supply of water is not there. Water getting contaminated with the feces containing the eggs. So the parasite is elongated, cylindrical, tapering at both ends. What you see here is the tapering ends, okay, of the parasite. Sexes are separate, as I said, the male and female. Females are more stout, and the anterior end is it is straight. In this case of the the posterior end, and the male has got a hooked posterior end. Females are longer as our males, and the posterior end of the male is curved, having a pineal setting near the end, which means it is the area where the male sex part is there. It has got a kind of two prong like things, which actually opens up the vulvar waist, or shall we say the vaginal part of the female, so that the sperms can go inside. So it is known as the vulvar waist. And in the male, it has got at the tip. So generally, you will find them as T kind when the copulation, or shall we say the fertilization, taking place. Mouth is the anterior part, has got three finely toothed lips. One is dorsal and two are ventrodorsal, or you can say ventral. And they have sensory structures called labial papillae. They are present in both. The dorsal has two lips, double sensory papillae, and ventral has got one. Both are double sensory papillae. They can sense. They have got a kind of a device. And ventrolateral lip also bears a amphidial gland, which is olfactory. They can kind of smell, and chemoreceptors are there. So they have got a kind of developed system. So here what you see is the feces, the slit open, the intestine part. Maybe they have resected the whole thing, because the whole thing must have got strangulated, and they must have resected it. And see the number of these roundworms, Ascaris Lumbricoid, so many, small, big, so many of them. I'll tell you the complications which are occurring because of their large number, and they are wandering left and right, going to biliary, common bile duct, going to pancreatic duct, going into the lumen of appendix, perforating the layers of this and causing peritonitis and so on and so forth. I'll just tell you all that. Then it's beautiful to see that while they've already grown as adults, while they are in the small intestine, they actually, from say duodenum or duodenum, they tend to creep up, kind of regurgitate, go to the oropharynx, from there the Stretch tube, okay, and they can be even vomited out, as you can see in this picture. The adult worms are being vomited because they regurgitation from the duodenum going up and up through the esophagus and through the mouth. And a couple, or maybe a lady and a gentleman sitting with a bag full of earthworms. Maybe you know what is their aim. They will give it. I mean, they will, of course, it is of no use. Maybe they have to prepare antigen or something, but otherwise they are only a nuisance to the society, because they ultimately cause. And on the right, you see they are all intertwined. They are kind of jumbled up. And the egg, you can see from the egg, the larval part is there, which comes out after a few days of kind of incubation in the soil. Fertilized eggs passed in the soil. Of course, when it is proper disposal, they will not be there. And then from that, the first molding takes place, and the larval form gets released. Here, the life cycle is very interesting. You will just keep track of what is happening. Let's look at one. One is the diagnostic. D stands for diagnostic part. What is one? So one is, it is showing the male parasite and the adult parasite. If you see this, it is a diagnostic this thing. That yes, you're like catching the thief for a theft. It is there. These parasites are there in the stool. Diagnostic. By other methods, by barium or this thing, it is diagnostic. And from here, we go to 2. Just focus, where is 2? You all can see, we are coming to 2 is here. And down where it is saying unfertilized eggs and fertilized eggs. They are passed by the male, by the man, and are there in the feces, in the soil with the plants. That is where these plants, when they are eaten, not properly cooked, we get the infection. So it could be unfertilized egg and fertilized egg. Here I would like to just highlight one very interesting aspect of this. If it is fertilized egg, it denotes the eggs are fertilized by the male. The female is fertilized, and the eggs which she is passing are. There could be a situation where the eggs may be unfertilized only. Now, what does that show? That the males are not there. Males only would be there to fertilize the the egg. Other situation is there are no eggs. So what could be the reason? There is no male and only female. Sorry, the females are not there. Only males are there because males are not going to produce the eggs. Females are not there, which is unusual, which normally doesn't happen. Okay, so these are the situation. And fertilized when both are there. Unfertilized when male are. If you don't find a single fertilized egg, that means only unfertilized means males are absent. Anyway, so that is out of logic. But that generally you get is fertilized as well as unfertilized. So this is 2. We come to 3. 3, you see this arrow going up. It is in the soil, which was passed by the person who is getting it, and has got, this is embryonated, right? And it has got molting done, and the larval form is inside. And these eggs are eaten or swallowed along with the contaminated water or food, and it goes in the intestine, esophagus, stomach, and after 4 we have 5. 5 is where, just try to see, yeah, the small intestine, the jejunum. 5 is the jejunum, where the shell part gets removed and the larval form gets liberated. From 5 we go to 6. 6 is the larval form sticks to the mucosal this thing, and then pierces it, gets into the portal system. This thoracic duct goes to the liver. From there goes to the right side of the heart through inferior vena cava. From right it goes to the lungs. From lungs, that is where there's another molding, and from the lungs the larval forms who have undergone molding, they just go up, kind of creep and go up, go to the oropharyngeal area and are swallowed. And when they are swallowed, let me show you, sorry, when they are swallowed, they go again to they pass through esophagus, stomach, go to the small intestine, and now, having come here after undergoing the cycle in lung, they develop into adult parasite. And after a few months, these adult parasites, if male and female both are there, the adult female starts passing eggs. So that completes the life cycle. So you should know what is the diagnostic, what is the other is the infective stage. Infective stage is the fertilized egg, which has got an embryo inside. Life cycle, I will just go ahead. They are normally present in small intestine. Infective stage is embryonated egg. Pardon this is spelling mistake. I put INFEC, PIV. Embryonated eggs. Route of infection is by mouth, whether it is the food which has got the eggs or it is water. There is no intermediate host. Please remember, it's only one definitive host, no reservoir. It is the human being. Lifespan of the adult is about 1 to 2 years. And again, going back to the life cycle, which I already told you, they take about, once they have completed cycle, they reach the small intestine, they develop into adult form. It takes about 2 to 3 months from having ingested the infective eggs to the time the adult female starts liberating eggs, and the life cycle is around 1 to 2 years. So here the egg is hatching. The larva, please remember, which gets liberated from the fertilized egg in the intestine, is a rapid. It hatches in third stage, gets into the portal, goes to the liver. Second molding takes place, goes to through the hepatic vein, goes to the inferior vena cava, going to the right side of the heart. Right? From right side, it goes to the lungs. You all know this has been taught to you in anatomy and physiology. Lungs, they undergo another molding, which is the third molding of 7 days. Go to the larynx, and they creep up, right? From lungs, the alveoli, they go up, go to the trachea, bronchi, go to the laryngopharyngeal area, they are being swallowed through the esophagus, they come down, come to the stomach, from stomach, in the stomach, another molding, the fourth molding takes place, go to the jejunum and develop into adult parasite. So it is mainly by, how do you get the transmission? By the ingestion of contaminated food or water which have got fertilized eggs. Sometimes it can be even by inhalation of the contaminated dust with eggs while the children are playing. It can happen, but generally, a long time they can't survive outside the fertilized eggs. So children get it by playing on the contaminated soil and acquire the parasite from their hands. So this is how they have shown men swallow the infective Ascaris contaminated food or water is being taken containing the eggs. Now, the pathogenesis, what all the events are, main events are taking place, there are two phases. The blood-lung migration phase, which is through the lungs, larva, when it is passing, which I told you, explained to you, from right side of the heart going to the lung, there the larva causes pneumonitis, symptoms of pneumonia involving the larva because the parasite, the larval forms are invading the lung parenchyma. So the patient has fever, cough, blood in sputum, asthmatic kind of presentation, and large number of worms may give rise to allergic symptoms. This is the larva. When in the intestine, large number of them are there, they give rise to allergic symptoms. And the allergic symptoms in all parasitic are manifested by increase in the eosinophilia, known as eosinophilia, which is generally there. And this condition put together with fever, cough, blood in the sputum, asthmatic, this is known as Loeffler's syndrome. Intestinal phase, presence of few adults in the lumen of small intestine, they generally don't produce any problem. But when they have, and what if at all they produce is vague abdominal pain, intermittent colic, especially in the children, heavy worm burden, if it is there, can result into malnutrition because they are robbing you of your food that you are eating. And more serious manifestations have been seen when these wandering adults in the intestine may block the appendix lumen, common bile duct, and even perforate the walls of the intestine, causing peritonitis. So these complications of Ascaris, such as intestinal obstruction, by so many of them, as a kind of ball and obstructing the flow of the luminal this thing content, appendicitis entering to the lumen of appendix, biliary ascariasis, common bile duct, they enter, perforation of the intestine, enter into the gallbladder, cholecystitis, pancreatitis, the pancreatic duct, and peritonitis when they perforate all the layers and reach the peritoneum. The most problematic is the biliary ascariasis, where they enter the common bile duct and give the problem. It can even give rise to obstructive jaundice. So symptoms, very simple, having known the stages, there are generally no symptoms when first stage. Worms are there, larvae in the bowl. Worms are the larval form in the bowel in the small intestine attached to the bowel walls. Stage second, when the larval form migrates into the lung. So if at all little symptoms, fever and breathing difficulty, coughing and pneumonia. So this was stage 2 when the larva migrate into the lung. It is associated with fever and breathing difficulty, cough and pneumonia. And stage 3 where the worm enters the small intestine after getting matured and they are remaining there to feed. They are now in the intestine, having developed into food. So what all they can give rise to? Abdominal symptoms and total intestinal blockage. In the abdominal symptoms, there will be discomfort, abdominal discomfort, dyspepsia, loss of appetite. If they are large number, they will block. It can give rise to partial or complete intestinal obstruction. Here I am reminded of the episode when I was in your stage of my medical career. Was it sometimes 65, 66? One, I will not name her. She presented with severe pain in the right iliac fossa. So the first thought was McBurney point, that it must be appendicitis. She had severe pain. The counts also had gone up. She was rushed to the hospital. Theater opened up as emergency. And you know what they found? So we go ahead with what I was telling you. The total intestinal blockage, when it occurs as an abdominal problem, there can be severe abdominal pain like acute intestinal obstruction. The restlessness. So I was telling you about my friend. So this lady then we operated and we said, come on, Veena, you are complaining and the appendix, and there was no appendix infection, and you are eating all the dirt that you had so many Ascaris. Anyway, so that lady then became a medical superintendent of gynae. Sir, मैं बाद में बात करता हूँ, sorry. And then anyway, so this I can't forget. Maybe you may face such a thing. So they disturb sleep. Worms are there in the stool, worms in the vomit, and so this is how it can manifest. Okay. And see, clinically features are abdominal pain, depending on where are they lodged, diarrhea, vomiting, maybe little temperature, fever, and block the intestine and appendix, acute appendicitis, intestinal obstruction, enter the bile or pancreatic duct, and even interfere with the digestion, so dyspepsia. They can injure the intestinal wall, cross it, go through it, and cause peritonitis. They which is a very serious problem. They produce toxins, ascarion, which irritates the mucous membrane of the gut, and digestion of protein doesn't take place because they destroy the enzyme trypsin, which helps us in digestion. Children cause they generally because of this have a stunted growth because vitamin A they eat away the nutrition, and even the mental capacity they are generally little dull because the inflammation, lava can cause inflammation, hemorrhage in the lungs, which results in pneumonia, and it may even prove fatal. Diagnosis depends on simple, either the adult form or the eggs or the larval form. Adult forms they are there in the intestine. They regurgitate. They may come through mouth. They may come through the ear. So what they do is ear is when they have gone up, they will go through the eustachian tube, perforate the middle, go through the middle ear, perforate the tympanic membrane, and you can see them coming out from the ear. From the mouth, you can be regurgitated. Okay, from the nose they can come. So that is adult, and they can pass in the intestine. Coming to the eggs, they will be passed in the stool, and coming to the larva, you will see them generally in the sputum of those who are having the larval form. They would be there in the sputum, which you can see, but it is not very, it is not so easy to get them in that. And as a consequence of this parasitic infection, eosinophilia is a very good index of a parasitic infection. More eosinophils means more severe the infection. So diagnosis will be only for confirmation purpose, recovery of the worm or its egg. When it is Ascaris or pneumonia, pneumonitis, because Ascaris sputum will show larval form, which is generally not possible. In an intestinal, you find in the feces, the eggs, the direct fecal film will show is quite okay. If you do it carefully, you will find in the feces the eggs. Due to large number, the females are passing approximately 2.5 lakh eggs per day, and this is the first method of choice, finding the eggs. Now, what we do is we process this or mix this stool in brine, concentrated sodium chloride solution. As a result, these eggs which are fertilized, they generally float up and they are seen in the upper layer, and you can get a good number of cells. And of course, those which are the unfertilized eggs, they are heavy, they get settled. So that is, we generally go for the upper one where we get the fertilized eggs. Then you can get the adult worm. They are found in feces, from the vomiters, and this is how the diagnosis can be made. Okay, eggs. Eggs could be unfertilized, fertilized. Unfertilized eggs are oblong. They do not have the outer cortex of the kind. Embryo is part is the not organized and is degenerated. Coming to fertilized, it may have a cortical part which is mammulated, the mammulation, and inside a proper embryo. And fertilized could be decorticated without the cortex. Now, fertilized egg, we will focus a bit. Let's talk of the corticated, which has got the cortex, is 47 to say 50 to 70 micron by 35 to 50 micron. The long axis and short axis, they are rounded or oval, thick. They are consisting of 3 layers. Inner layer has got a thick yolk membrane. Middle layer is thick. Outer layer, the coarse, has got mammulations of albuminous this thing. And there is a crescent in fertilized egg at both the poles, upper pole and lower pole. Because as I said, it's the oval kind. There is upper pole, there is a crescent, means a clear empty space, and also in the lower pole. And the color of them is golden brown. Because the iodine there and the bile and all, the bile are there iodine stained. So this is what the fertilized egg. Outer layer is coarse, mammulated, inner layer thick membrane, middle layer is thick, embryo is then inside as a larva, and the crescent space at both the poles is the kind of space, empty space as a crescent of the moon, which is a typical of a fertilized egg. It is absent in the unfertilized. Decorticated, same thing without cortex. Okay, cortex removed. They do not have the outer albuminous layer which is mammillated. The unfertilized are elongated, larger than the fertilized egg, size is bigger and thin, do not have an inner layer, irregular, and they do not have present space. Now, the one more aspect of the diagnosis is the serodiagnosis, wherein, which is more of academic, what you do is you find the egg, in the sputum you may find larva, you may find the adult worm, and that's all. The diagnosis becomes very simple. But where serodiagnosis there, we do indirect hemagglutination, immunofluorescent antibody test, which again is the indirect evidence, mind you. It is that the best is the direct evidence, where you find the egg, the larval form. And prevention part is obviously we know what is the mode of infection. Keeping a good sanitation condition is the best way to prevent infection. Proper disposal of night soil and avoiding the contamination of the water with or the water line with the sewage line. Whatever you eat should be thoroughly washed in a mild solution of K1O4, potassium permanganate, and cook properly. When I say cook properly, I always emphasize put everything which you cook in a pressure cooker. Even if the eggs are there, whatever is there gets killed. Fingernails should be regularly cut to avoid collection of the dirt and egg below them. And hands should be properly washed with some antiseptic soap before touching the food. And thank you. Thanks for being patiently listening. God bless you. Any question? Hello? Yes, bathroom. Bathroom.